right, welcome back. PMJ, I'm Gritty Danks. Too short can only mean one thing. Can only mean one thing, people.
It's time.
We just had the draft. Now to talk about that, the draftermath. At Voch Lombardi on Twitter. Check him out on YouTube for his film breakdowns of draft prospects every year. Voch, another year's in the books, buddy. How are you?
Pretty good, man. First of all, I would love to know about the older folks that watch your, you know what I'm saying, just listen to y'all like, you know, y'all could do the 70s stuff, the 80s stuff, the power ballads, but just out of nowhere, like Too Short come on. Like, how do they take that when they ride
They
in their
love
cars?
it.
You know what I'm saying? I would love to know what happens here. But
This is like their favorite. This is the most popular segment, my friend.
Yeah, they love it.
Well, appreciate y'all. I'm grateful. Thanks for having me again. Chris said this a long time ago, and, you know, just my ego won't let me forget it, but I make y'all younger, so I appreciate y'all.
It's true.
That is actually true, Voch. All right. I texted you during the draft. I thought you'd be all happy about Parsons, but you weren't. So I know you wanted Rashawn Slater there. So who do you think, let me ask you this, who do you think had the best value pick in the first round, in your opinion?
Value pick, I mean, the Bears got a franchise quarterback, my second favorite quarterback, a top 10 guy, and I don't feel like they had to trade their whole soul to get him. You know what I mean? So them getting Justin Fields was probably the best value. Now, in my mind, I thought Fields would have been like a top 5 or 6 or 7 guy. But this gives us an opportunity to look at the Broncos and laugh at them, right? Because I say all the time, teams really suck at this. So if you're the Broncos with, you know, Drew Lock, and you got some pretty good corners over there because you paid some money in free agency for corners, and somebody in that room is saying, hey, man, we got Drew Lock and a room full of corners. Y'all want to go a top 3 quarterback or you want to go Surtain? Somebody said, let's go Surtain, and everybody was like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? So, you know, that sucks for my team because my team was looking for one of the corners. But, you know, like I said, man, teams got to suck so the other teams can properly take advantage. And Justin Fields falling, the Bears being able to move up. Think about how long the Bears have been without competent quarterback play. Even when they was in the Super Bowl, Rex Grossman was existing. You know what I mean? So just imagine what they're going to be able to do with a guy that's actually competent. You ain't got to be amazing as a Bears quarterback because the rest of the team is going to do what it's going to do. But just being competent will get you far enough. But now you got Justin Fields, who's way better than competent. And as far as my Cowboys go or whatever, I just don't want to be a phony. See, Jerry Jones can talk to you through the whole offseason and be like, man, look, Kyle Pitts is the first dude, and we love corners and all this and that. But then when we draft Michael Parsons, he gets phony. But like, oh, Michael Parsons was the top player on our board. We want Michael Parsons all the time. I'm not going to be phony like that. Michael Parsons was a little bit down my board because of who he is and his traits and, you know, like value and things like that. You don't really want to value off-ball linebackers there early, but we have them now, so we can use them. But I wanted to do that whoop Chase Young, especially with Chase Young being in my division. But it is what it is. Parsons all right.
Voch, was there a team that I know you mentioned Denver, but was there a team that made you chuckle the most in the first round?
Texans, Rams, and Seahawks suck at this. You know, I don't want to make it look like they was just in there throwing darts at a board or something. You know what I mean? But first and foremost, Seahawks only had 3 picks. So you would imagine that they would somewhat get this right, but it seems like every single year Russell Wilson gets pissed off because he doesn't have O-line help, and they purposely wait until day 3. At the end of day 3, they wait until the 6th and the 7th round to get quarterback help for him, and then they look and go, our offensive line ain't that great. I wonder why our offensive line – because you keep spending 7- and 6-round picks on your offensive line. The Rams, I mean, look, so like Tutu Atwell is a good player. I don't want to make it seem like he's a bad player, but I think getting him at 57 was a bit high. And then the rest of the guys, I just hated them. So like the Rams actually were the opposite of the Seahawks. The Seahawks had 3 picks, but they was terrible. The Rams had 7 or 8 picks or something, and I hated all of them. And then the Texans, they got a quarterback or whatever, but it's not like they sold their soul or made some attempt to get to the top to get some quarterback that was worth talking about. You know what I mean? They just kind of waited for quarterback to fall to them. And I guess in their mind, this is the just in case Watson doesn't work out plan. But I mean, you can't honestly look at Mills as a if Watson doesn't work out plan. Like, you would take Mills to be like, okay, Mills is going to make us terrible enough next year in order for us to just, get a quarterback then. But if that's the case, then just start whoever you got at quarterback now. Use the 67th overall pick, improve your team, so when you suck 3 years later down the line, the dude that you got at 67 can help that dude. But somebody got to suck at it.
What were your thoughts on two receivers going before Sewell? And look, I mean, maybe they're a little bit, they're clearly different players, and the situation always matters, right? But like Jamar Chase in Cincinnati, I love Burrow. I think he's going to be great, but their offensive line stinks. You've talked about that many times. So you got a chance to take a guy, and maybe you don't think, I don't know, maybe they thought he wasn't, I can't imagine they think he was going to be a good player at the next level. So if you have a chance to draft a guy like Sewell, or even Slater if you like them better, what'd you think of Cincinnati? And really, for that matter, Miami too. I know they have a couple young tackles there, but it's still, for me, I mean, and especially a guy like Waddle, who we just don't know, right? Like, not a great route runner. He's going to have to learn how to play at the next level. That might take some time. What'd you think of those two picks right before Sewell, then Detroit just having him land at them? It reminds me of the year that Quentin Nelson went like 6, when everybody thought like this dude was going to be a Hall of Famer, and he goes 6 behind like running backs and stuff. So what was your thought of, what were your thoughts on that?
As far as the Bengals go, I know there's a lot of people that had their reservations about Chase or whatever, because some guys are clearly, like, if you watch Jalen Waddle, he's clearly just a super fast, quick, explosive dude, right? If you watch Devontae Smith, he's clearly route runner, nuance guy, right? Jamar Chase ain't really got a clearly about him. He's just kind of get job done guy. But when you see what he was able to do in that year, 2019, I mean, as long as he's getting the job done, all right, cool. So if you had any reservation about Jamar Chase, you would say something like, well, he was on that good because Joe Burrow was on the football. Well, Cincinnati got Joe Burrow. So if you wanted to make that pair off of that, then I can't hate it. But I'm offensive line guy, and you can find a new wide receiver you like every single year.
Right. Like
last year, it was 1,000 wide receivers I like. Year before that, every single year, there's a good wide receiver. Offensive line sucks as a whole in the league. So if you have an opportunity to get one, then get one. I'm a Cowboys fan, right? Tyron Smith was drafted in 2011. We haven't had to worry about offensive tackle, left tackle in particular. We haven't had to worry about that since 2011. So I'm always pro lock that dude down, because once you got one, and you never got to worry about it again. So in my mind, the Cincinnati Bengals getting Jamar Chase makes a little bit of sense in terms of the Joe Burrow matchup. So then you look at them drafting 46 and go, all right, y'all probably going to go offensive line here. And the offensive lineman that they drafted, Jackson Carman from Clemson, he sucks. He's terrible, right? So now he's a dude that's not going to be around. To where if they would have switched it and got Penei Sewell and say a guy like Terrence Marshall or something, or just one of the wide receivers that was there at 46, you feel good about that pair lasting for a long time. But now you can't. In terms of Miami, there were some people that had Jalen Waddle as their wide receiver number one. I mean, I wasn't one of them dudes, but Jalen Waddle was high on my board. I mean, what happens is something happens in the league, everybody else goes, oh, and then they go and try to make that happen. So Tyreek Hill has been this thing. Now, back in the day, we need all of our wide receivers to be like Megatron. We need them 6'5" dudes that can run. And after a while, we were all looking for 6'5" dudes that can run. It didn't work. But now that we're looking at Tyreek Hill crawled so that other little bitty wide receivers that run fast can fly. You see what I'm saying? So I think they're looking at Jalen Waddle as one of those guys. Miami has wide receivers, but they don't have a dude that kind of fit that style. They got bigger dudes or whatever. So now they got a dude that can run around a little bit. Plus, since we're getting you this new wide receiver Tua Tagovailoa that you've thrown to before, this is kind of like your last, prove a year or whatever, which is crazy to say about a second-year quarterback. But we're putting all these things in place. Now make it happen or you're getting fired.
Well, speaking of Alabama quarterbacks, Voch, Mac Jones ends up sliding to where the Patriots draft, and they end up taking him. And all in all, how do you feel this will fit in for the Patriots?
Man, Mac Jones walking around looking like a middle school principal.
He
You
did
know what I
look
mean?
just goofy as hell. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Walking around
Like
with
mall
his fist balled up.
security. Yeah.
This is what's so crazy about the arrogance of the draft, right? We can lie to you, right, Mac Jones? We can lie to you and say, "Hey, Mac Jones, you might go third overall." So you walk around with that idea in your mind, but there's nothing more satisfying than reality hitting you and you going 15th. But it looked like he was upset that he was going 15th. I think he should be grateful that he's going first round, right? And then he just takes the Patriots hat and he snatches it and he puts it on real quick. You know what I mean? Like, Mac Jones, bro, like, if you're Belichick, I mean, I don't know how Belichick is at developing quarterbacks or whatever, but he was fine with Jimmy. He was fine with Cam relatively, with the rest of the team or whatever. He was fine with guys like Brissett. You know what I mean? He was fine with Matt Castle. So I would imagine that whatever system that Mac Jones goes into, it'll work. I mean, we just got him some brand new tight ends. Pardon me, we got Cam some brand new tight ends that Mac Jones will borrow sometimes until it's his time to play. But, I mean, honestly, I don't think that the Patriots draft very well in general. However, I really like what they did this year. And it wasn't really because of the whole Mac Jones thing, because I just look at him and laugh. But the whole – like Barmore was a solid pick at 38. Some people were saying we could take Barmore in the first round. I wasn't a Barmore in the first round guy, but if you could get him at 38, cool. Ronnie Perkins is a top 5 enemy. You know what I mean? So getting him at 96 worked out. Getting a running back from Oklahoma, I liked him. The linebacker from Michigan, I like all these dudes. And you just go down the list, and the Patriots, I don't know if they brought in some outside help, but they haven't drafted as well in a long time. So Mac Jones wasn't my favorite pick by the Patriots or whatever, but, he's a dude that can make throws or whatever. He wasn't, Mac Jones is the accurate quarterback of the group. I think everybody can make the throws that Mac Jones can make. Everybody was as accurate or could read defenses as Mac Jones was. But Mac Jones ain't no scrub. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens with the Patriots or whatever. We'll see. Go get Jimmy, though. Go get Jimmy, but we'll see.
What about in the same division, Zach Wilson, obviously the Jets, and I thought they had a pretty strong draft from there on out, got good players, were able to maneuver a little bit, too, to trade up to 14 to get a guard they desperately need. So, first of all, did Zach Wilson's, walk and, the way he walks, he kind of walks like a girl, like his legs are completely together the whole time and so stiff and wooden and weird looking, did any of that bother you or make you worry? But generally, what did you think about the Jets draft?
Are you asking me this because the people wanted to know, or you're just a Jets fan?
He is scared to death.
I'm a Jets fan, and just the way he walked, and my woman was killing me for the way Zach Wilson was walking. She's like, "Look, he walks like a girl," and he did. He did. He walked like a girl. So I'm just curious as to if that bothers you at all. Do you read into that at all? And then just generally, what do you think of the draft?
If he walks like a girl, dressed like a girl, if he got a boyfriend named Jeff, who cares? And look, long as he can play. As he can play,
That's right.
I think he can play.
All right.
I think he can play, man. So, Zach Wilson was my number one quarterback on my board personally. For everybody that's listening right now that probably never heard of me, I don't really go by what everybody else says. I just kind of like who I like. Zach Wilson can make some throws that Trevor Lawrence can't make. Now, Trevor Lawrence got the high floor or whatever, but I think if Zach Wilson can be who he is, then Zach Wilson can be better than all these cats. Let me just say that first and foremost. But I think the Jets have been drafting well lately, and by lately, let me just chill. By lately, I mean the last 2 years. This could be terrible next year, but the last 2 drafts have been great. I like Elijah Barrett-Tucker. He's a guy, which is interesting. I was thinking about his placement because he's a guy that played guard last year but tackled this year. So in my mind, you either got 2 great tackles with him and Becton, or you can take Elijah Barrett-Tucker, put him at left guard next to Becton, and have this incredible left side. I think Barrett-Tucker is good enough to kind of give you, just to give you a little bit of room to do both those things. And y'all kind of traded to get him, so you better put some use to him. I like Elijah Moore, but you got to be careful about him because every single year there's this quick running twitchy dude that's great in college but doesn't really pan out in the league. He might be one of those guys if he's used properly. You know what I mean? Because one year it could be Tyler Lockett. The next year it could be the dude that the Eagles got last year. He's a guy that can take bubbles, slant screens and things like that, but he has the big play upside or whatever. And if you just look at some of these picks, Michael Carter, the pass catching running back from North Carolina, all these picks are to help Zach Wilson along. You know what I mean? Y'all did everything but kind of draft tight end, I would say, you know. But, you know, I like y'all's draft or whatnot. Down in the 6th round at 186, y'all got Hamza Nazardeen from Florida State. Now, I don't know how y'all took him after the Pittsburgh corner, because he's terrible to me. But Hamza Nazardeen is one of my favorite safeties in this class, and we talked a little bit about hybrid guys 2 weeks ago. So he's a dude that can play free safety and strong, but when you look at him, he looks big as hell. He's 230-some-odd pounds, 6'4". So he can probably also give you some linebacker stuff. So if you're creative enough, I think Hamza Nazardeen could be a really good sleeper player for you in the 6th round. Nobody else cares about the Jets but Haas, so I'm talking directly to you.
There's a few people out here. It's
my show, Voch. Let's talk about whatever I want.
Voch, what's your take on how Mike Mayock drafts?
I think they suck at it.
Yeah, okay. I feel like they try to be cute.
Yeah, so in my mind, they draft like they don't have a big board, and they just got a dude on the phone that calls in the picks, and they just let whoever's in the room at the time just make the pick. Like, they don't have structure, you know? Like, sometimes it could be John making the pick. Sometimes it's like Mayock making the pick. And you could tell because they somehow walked away with 3 safeties this year. Like, it looked like they forgot that they drafted safety earlier, so they just drafted safety 3 more times. So it's kind of weird, man. Leatherwood, they got him 17th overall, and Leatherwood was the guy that I had going in the 2nd round, but it just seems like they don't have their guys in order, right? Like somebody said, hey, I like Leatherwood. You like Leatherwood? We like Leatherwood. Let's get Leatherwood, with no consideration of who may be better than Leatherwood. You know what I'm saying? Morrig is cool. Malcolm Kuntz is actually an interesting guy from Buffalo. Was a Senior Bowl guy, but he has some injury stuff going on. He's solid, but I wouldn't have taken him, there. Tyree Gillespie got the best first quarter in the whole entire draft. Watch him versus Alabama. You watch him coming down, smacking Najee Harris. You see him coming down, covering tight ends, covering Devontae Smith. Don't ask what happens for the next 3 quarters. I said the first quarter. But besides that, Tyree Gillespie is a solid player, can play some free, can play some strong. But besides that, man, the Raiders suck at this, man. The Raiders terrible. They was terrible last year. They was terrible the year before that. And my problem with Raiders fans, right, and I hope some listen. 4 years ago, they got this cat named Colton Miller. It was like, Voch, what you think about Colton Miller? I was like, I think he sucks. And then he sucked for like 3 years, right? But he finally has upgraded to competent in year 4. And now they're like, well, Voch, you going to apologize for saying Colton Miller? No! He's been terrible for 3 years. Cleveland Farrell. Voch, what do you think about Cleveland Farrell? He sucks. He's terrible. So now the Raiders, they've become this laughingstock for me personally. And, if any Raiders fans call in, man, I would love for y'all to try to explain some of this drafting y'all have been doing. But go ahead, man. My bad. Go ahead.
Voch, last question, and then I'll let you go here. But, I went back to what you were saying about the small receivers, and there are trends that go back and forth. But I'm not a big fan. There's some small guys I love. Like, I love Rondale Moore. I love Debo coming out. There are some small guys that I think are tough enough to really be good in that league and can do more than one thing than be fast. Like, they can run routes or they're explosive and dynamic inside. They understand to be good inside, especially in that league, you have to have sort of an intrinsic understanding of what's going on around you too, right? So I think it takes a lot more to be good at that size, especially if playing in the middle of the field, than it does to be 6'3" and weigh 215 pounds and go get it. So I just think it's harder to be good at that spot. What's your take on teams investing so much in players like that? I mean, like last year, you look at Claypool and you look at the kid that Indy drafted. Pittman, 2 big kids that could use their body right away. So when you look at these guys, just generally, what do you think of these sort of smaller interior type of receivers and where their value should really be in the draft? And then who are the guys you think do make any size, any receiver that make an instant impact last year? Because we don't see that a ton. There's always 1 or 2, but who do you think those guys are?
I think coaches have gotten better at that, because once upon a time, we would just look at guys and be like, okay, well, what can't they do? and that'll be the reason why they won't draft him, right? But nowadays, coaches are saying, okay, but you do this really well, though. So let's just say, for example, Deebo Samuel, like you said, right? If you ask Deebo to run routes and be jump ball guy and play a whole bunch of vertical stuff, then you're wrong. You should be fired. But if Deebo comes in the Super Bowl and he catches some slants, he gets some handoffs, you know what I'm saying, some easy routes, and you let him be that guy, then Deebo Samuel got about 7 or 8 plays in the Super Bowl. He was making real impact. So now I think coaches see that, and they just kind of play off each other and go, okay, I could take a guy like Rondale Moore. We're talking about Arizona. I could take a guy like Rondale Moore. He may not be the most complete, but for what I'm going to ask him to do, Rondale Moore is going to be incredible. And I'm not going to ask him to do anything that I wouldn't expect. You know what I mean? So, like, Jalen Darden can go to Tampa Bay. One day, Antonio Brown won't be there anymore because they're going to be sick of his mess, and they're going to need some interior dude that can run around and be quick. If you ask 5'7" Jalen Darden to play outside, you're wrong. But if he's within that role, if he's within the handoff, jet sweep guy, I'm going to be sometimes running back, big play screen dude, then you're fine. So I think this is an opportunity now to where more wide receivers can be useful because, honestly, Chase Claypool wasn't amazing last year. He just kind of had some big days, but he was working within that system. It wasn't like he was the number one guy out there, right? He was working within his system. I would say Jefferson was a lot more impressive, but whatever, that's a tangent or whatnot. But, okay, so like Jalen Reagor for the Eagles. They wasn't using Jalen Reagor. Perfect example, Nelson Aguilar, right? Nelson Aguilar leaves the Eagles because they're using him wrong, because they drafted him 19th, and they wanted him to be this number one type receiver. He leaves, go to Oakland, and starts making plays in Oakland, right? So it's about usage. It's not really the guys. So what you see now is, once upon a time, it was all just wide receiver. Now we have terms like slot receiver. We got, we have like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1. We didn't always have those big slots. You know what I mean? Words like that. So if you could take wide receiver pool, which was a big pool of guys, and you break them down into what they're good at, the overall product is better because you're not asking them to do things that they suck at.
Well, Voch, we always appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you so much. We'll check in soon.
Man, y'all not going to talk to me till next year, man. Hey, Voch Lombardi, VOCHLOMBARDI, they have used me up, but I appreciate y'all for doing it. I just want to give y'all credit because y'all was one of the first ones that ever had faith in me. So now that I'm Hollywood and I'm not answering my phone for other people,
right.
Answer the phone for y'all because y'all held me down early in this thing. So appreciate y'all. Till next year, man. Peace.
All right, Voch. Appreciate you too, bud.
Take care.
Good luck, man. We love having you on.
When we talk about Keaton Slovis being the first quarterback off the
That's true. Yeah, maybe we should get Voch on a little more during the college football season next year.
I think it's a good idea.
Do like a running sort of, sort of follow Voch's list along as the year sort of evolves.
It's a good idea.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll do that.